Hi everybody, sanibonani, welcome to my channel. Igama lami Mdletshe, and on this channel siyasibuka ama reality shows ethu alla eMzansi bese sizala sokhuluma ngawo lama shows. Siyaphinda ke futhi sikhuluma ngama celebrities kanye nama YouTubers ethu alla eMzansi. If it's your first time joining me today and you really like my content, do not forget to press the subscribe button la ngezansi kanye ne notification bell ukuze uthole umyalezo uma ngabe umsebenzi omusha sesi ufakile. You guys, there's also a join button below if you want to be a member of the channel. Thank you so much to everybody that presses the thanks button to thank the channel, and also thank you so much to everybody that watches adverts on this channel. So I had promised ukuthi I am going to do the full review of the interview Siyacela, okay? This was one of the most difficult shows to watch, or the most difficult interviews to watch, because we already know, or we already knew what Umoja Love was trying to do. We already know ukuthi it's not necessarily that they have the best interest Thando or even Siyacela on Moja Love. It's all about them making money and not looking bad in the process. So whenever they start looking bad, they do things like this to try and convince us ukuthi they care about certain issues the same way that we do, and that for them it's not just about money, it's also about caring for the people, which we have seen that is not the case. So it was a difficult interview to watch. There's so many things that were said in that interview that were like ridiculous, okay? So the host of the interview was Ulinda Sibiya, okay? I don't know what Ulinda Sibiya has on Moja Love, because they're always going to give him these jobs. Sometimes he is a good presenter, you guys, but for this one I really didn't think that it was appropriate to have him, because Ulinda Sibiya himself has his own issues that he hasn't answered for, his own issues that he hasn't explained. Not so long ago there was a young girl that came out to say that she was pregnant with Ulinda Sibiya's baby. There was that story, you guys. So he's not somebody that I would want to actually handle this interview, you guys. And also, I just don't understand why Umoja Love insists on having male presenters when it comes to talking about these issues. I just feel like I needed a woman, you know. I felt like I needed a woman. Or if it was a man, Linda Sibiya, I didn't feel like he was the one that should do this this interview, because he's not the one that stands up for women. We have seen him do the show Umnagwethu Happily Ever After, do the reunion. He doesn't do it very well. He doesn't he doesn't take the side of the women, you know. He jokes about issues that affect women in a negative way. He thinks it's a joke. So I just didn't think that it was appropriate for him to be the host for this interview. So already I was just like irritated by the fact that they had chosen Ulinda Sibiya for this interview. So I was under the impression that, of course, because they said it's an interview, it wasn't like an intervention. I was under the impression that whoever was going to be the host was going to be sitting with Siyacela for the whole 30 minutes that the interview was for. But there were other people that came on. So it did kind of feel like it was an intervention more than it was an interview. But it was an intervention where they were trying to make sure that Siyacela doesn't feel like it's an intervention, okay? So, of course, when the interview started, they play that scene where Siyacela breaks Thando's phone, which was horrible to watch. Even as a repeat to watch that scene, it's horrible, you guys. You want to skip through it because it's horrible to watch somebody being abused like that. So Ulinda asked the question, Siyacela. Okay, let me say this. Okay, right from the beginning, it did feel like this was about Siyacela finding out how he feels, finding out about what he's going through, you know, with everything that has happened, which I didn't understand. This is a perpetrator of the abuse. Why are we concerned about how he feels? You know, how people are treating him now that the story has come out. I don't get it. I don't get it. Those questions should be directed to Thando. How do you feel, after the whole thing happened? But that's exactly what Ulinda Sibia was asking Siyacela. How do you feel? Since the story has come out and there's things that are being said on social media about you, are you able to walk freely? Haibo, after you abuse your wife, are you able to walk freely in the community? Since people are saying so many things about you, how is it? Why are we concerned about him when he's the perpetrator of the crime? Okay, but I guess we are concerned about Siyacela. Anyway, you guys, Siyacela, he's gonna be honest. He's like, no, I am okay. I don't care about what people say online, but I don't have any problem. Because of course he doesn't have any problem, because he's the perpetrator of the crime. The victim is Ntando. That's the person that we should be concerned about. Okay, so wambuza ukuthi uyazisola, do you regret doing what you did? Okay, Usiyana, yes, he does regret it, and particularly he doesn't feel like it's a big deal, because what happened. They fixed it, they moved on, and they feel like they will never do that again. And Ulinda Sibia, this is the question that I feel like it's always asked, so that we can give the abusers, I'm not going to say men, because even women can be abusers, a question of, did you see this happen at home when you were growing up? That's the question they asked Useta. Did you see your father? I think they made an assumption because Udlamuka had 5 wives, and that maybe he was abusive to maybe all or some of them, and Useta grew up seeing that, and that's the question that was posed to him. Did you see this happen in your home? And Useta is like, no. Okay. One thing I liked about him is his honesty, because someone else might have said, yeah, I did see him here and there. They even asked him if he has ever seen it with the neighbors, like in the community, and Useta was like, no, I've never seen. He's like, my father was a father. At times he would be upset and he would shout, but I have never seen my father lay a hand on any of his wives. I had never seen him lay a hand on my mother. I had never seen somebody do it in the community. Sometimes, you guys, the abuser doesn't need to have grown up in an abusive situation to be an abuser. I think that is something that we need to understand, and I think Ulinda Sibia was looking for that, which wasn't there, because he said no. Dlamuka was never abusive to his wife. He's never seen Dlamuka lay a hand on his wives. He has seen him as a father being upset at her, but akazazambone esha ubabakhe. Which I think was a disappointment to Linda Sibia, because I think Umojalav was trying to find an excuse for his behavior. Okay, guys, I do make notes, mangenza reviews, so those who are here for the first time. So I want to make sure that I make all the points that I wanted to make. Okay. So then he asks a question: is it right to hit a woman? Usiyacela says no. But sometimes usuke usukhuzile kwaze kwanela, like usumkhuzile umuntu akayeki leyo nto ayenzayo, and uzama ukumqoqa, so uzama ukumqoqa ngokuthi umshaye. A lot of the times uthi wenziwa ukucasuka. Okay, wenziwa ukucasuka. Okay, listen, I do a little bit, you guys, and I know some of you won't understand. I do a little bit appreciate the honesty ka Siyacela, because I think that Umojalav wanted him to come on and sort of be like, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done this and whatever. I think he was honest enough to make us see that this guy just doesn't really care, because he was honest. He doesn't even understand that even with there's never a good reason. Even with the reason that you think is a good reason, there's never a reason to hit your wife. It's not to abuse your partner. It's not like he feels like, no, but sometimes masumkhuzile umuntu and eqhubeka naleyo nto ufuna ukumqoqa. So yes, Ngiyamshaya, but I'm not saying it's right, but sometimes nami I'm angry and I don't know what to do. Okay, so and he tries to explain, because obviously with that Ulinda Sibia is sort of acting like he is shocked by what he's saying. So he's trying to explain the number thing. You remember, because the reason they were fighting this time is because Ntando gave a number to this girl, and then the girl called, but the girl had also given the number to a guy, which really was irrelevant at the end of the day, because it does not matter what Ntando had done. He shouldn't have abused her like that. So at the end of the day, it was still wrong. So that's, but that was his explanation. Okay. And okay, so I feel like, honestly, they probably did sit with Siyacela to say, listen, we do want you to take some responsibility, but I don't think that they went through every question that Linda Spear was going to ask him, so that they could make sure that what he answers in the way that they want him to answer. So at the end, it was feeling like the interview, even during the interview, it was feeling like the interview is not going the way that they wanted to go, because he would answer he would say, yes, it's wrong to abuse somebody, yes, it's wrong to hit somebody, but then he will give a reason to it, like, but I'm still gonna do it, or this is the reason I do it, which I don't think that there was the intention of the interview. Okay, so then he asked him, Linda Spear, do you think you need help? Okay, Useta says, no, I don't think that I need help. I don't think that Ntando needs help, but I do feel like other people might feel like I need help, and other people might feel like we need help. Okay, there is something that he said where he said he feels like abantu, they speak for Ntando. He feels like Ntando doesn't feel abused in the situation. They go through whatever it is that they go through, they talk, they forgive each other, it passes. People that have a problem more about what's happening is people outside of their relationship, which I guess is people around them, and also it's us who are watching the show. So he feels like people speak for Ntando. He kind of feel like if people had to speak to Ntando, they probably wouldn't feel like Ntando is being abused, because Ntando will probably say that she's not being abused. This is one of the things that I felt like Thando should have been sitting there next to Siyacela, and also answering some of the questions, because right there when he said that, you could say, you know what, I don't feel like Ntando feels abused, and I think that it would have been interesting just in that moment to hear what Ntando has to say about his answer. Okay, if she feels abused, she does talk about it in the episode, but right now I'm just doing the interview, so I'm just only going to talk about what was said in the interview, and then later on we're going to discuss what was said in the episode, because she also said some interesting things. She also said some shocking things in the episode, but we are learning that these kids are actually kids that have no business even being in the marriage, have no business even being in a relationship with each other, but they are, So, okay, of course, it was those questions where I don't know how many times Linda Spear tried to ask a question of, did you see? Sometimes when we see things when we are growing up, and our grandfathers, our fathers do this, and we think we can do it. And Siyacela was consistent in saying that, yeah, but that is not what happened with me. That is not what I saw. I never saw my father do that. So it's not like I took it from my father. Okay. So then they had the next segment, they had Ubabu Silomake, which they hadn't introduced in the beginning that they were going to have him. So it was a surprise that he was there. I wondered how they opted to have him on the show. So it was a surprise to me. I didn't understand that, but I was like, maybe they just wanted a man that is in a position where if he speaks, maybe Useta is going to listen. And I don't know, you guys, I don't know, but they had Ubabu Silomake there, okay? And then Ubabu Silo, when they give him a chance to speak about what happens with the show, what happens with what's happening with Useta, he starts it by saying, the show really shows what men are going through. Like, I almost kicked the TV. I almost spin kicked my own TV. Because that's what he says. He says the show really shows what men are going through. Like, I was like, you really want to say that right now? He said that. He said that show shows what men are going through. Okay? And I was like, okay, I have to wait for him to explain his point. Because how is it showing what men are going through when it's at least if he said it's showing what men are doing. in their homes. It's showing what men are going through. Okay, so he starts talking about the issue of insecurity. I guess he's relating it to the fact that Siyacela was insecure in their relationship, which is the reason why he didn't want Ntando. He doesn't want Ntando to talk to other people. He doesn't want Ntando to give her number to other people. So he continues to say that Siyacela has to be aware, which I like. I like this point where he says that, one day you're going to be overcome by anger and you are going to end up killing her and not even intending to kill her because you are overcome by anger, and he sort of indicates that sometimes as a man you have to do some work on yourself. I'm not even sure if Siyacela is intelligent enough to get the point that he was trying to make about being insecure as a man, which leads you to not want your wife to call anybody or WhatsApp anybody or be on social media or even have a phone, okay? And then Linda goes into the scene where Ntando sort of Siyacela. Okay, so and then of course I felt like in that moment they were trying to turn Siyacela into a victim, because I felt like Impama Thando and Impama Siyacela are two different, and we also Leampama Leanne. I feel like it might as well have not happened, because really honestly, but obviously because we have to take violence, whether it's from a man or from a woman, equally as serious. It is serious, but I did feel like it was like she did this, like, if I'm being honest, you guys. But now they're saying, when how did you feel uma esekshaya kanjeyani, as if he was beaten, he was beaten in the same way that Ntando was beaten, because Ntando, when she explains what happened, I felt like she could have died in that situation. So then Siyacela says, no man, that was just Ntando saying she feels like she wants to hit me too, in order for her to be able to forgive me. And I feel like if she wants to do that, she can do that, maybe she's feeling like very which we saw very good in Tetambile. But again, obviously it's not right, you guys. I will state that it's not right either way for them to be hitting each other like that. Okay, so there was a woman there also whom I felt was a social worker, and she was trying to explain as well, that does happen in abusive relationships. I think I've talked about it in this channel, that if you stay in a toxic relationship, at some point you become toxic yourself if you stay too long in a toxic relationship. So at times, as a woman, when you are in a relationship and you are getting abused like that, at some point you do think about retaliating, and there's a lot of cases where women have retaliated and they have ended up killing men, and this can be that situation if they are not being careful. Okay, and so she said what I've said in the previous video, where she says that a toxic environment can make you toxic too. Okay, so here is how Umojala was very sneaky. Okay, guys, the story is when they were fighting Siyacela no Thando, Umojala that day did call Amaphoyisa. Okay, that's what they said. And then when they called Amaphoyisa, we never saw Amaphoyisa being called, but when they called Amaphoyisa and they arrived, Thando did not want to open a case. I feel like Umojala, I don't trust them, because the reason I don't trust them, because it would have made them look good if they showed that scene, if they showed the police arriving and they showed Thando saying, I do not want to open a case. Okay, but if we go back a few seasons ago, this was not the first time that Siyacela has hit Thando, or Thando has talked about Siyacela hitting her. It's just that it did not happen on camera. There was a time when Thando talked about the fact that Siyacela gets upset and hits her sometimes, and she said that one time she called the police, and when she called the police, Siyacela said, how Thando uyangbophisa ngempela. Okay, now they talk about that as if this is something that happened in this incident where Siyacela ended up asking Thando how uyangbophisa ngempela Thando. So I still feel like I'm not clear if they called the police. I don't trust Umojala that they called the police, but I do feel like they use, because when they go back and they're giving us clips of that incident, they are showing us Thando saying Siyacela said how Thando uyangbophisa ngempela, but Thando has said that in previous episodes. So it's almost like they could be talking about that incident making it seem like they are talking about these incidents here when they possibly never called the police, but they are saying that they called the police. I feel like I want to see a police report or something. I don't know, a call log in or something that shows because they called the police, because I don't trust them. I feel like this story is too similar to the previous story that happened for them to they might possibly use it and use those clips from the old show where Ntando had called the police on her own, and then Siyacela had said how Thando usuyangibophisa yini, you know. So they're saying that, okay, we are wabiza amaphoyisa, and you know, so they're asking Siyacela about that situation. Okay, uthi Siyacela yena once umuntu wabiza amaphoyisa lolo thando lisuka lungekho. Okay, so uthando lukhona when you hit the person, uthando lukhona when you break their phone, uthando lukhona when you cheat on them, but uthando alukho when you call the police. Basically that's what he says, because he does all of those things, but uthando mangabiza amaphoyisa, it will mean ukuthi uthando alisekho. Okay, they also had Mrs. Shy, about Patrick Shy's wife, the late Patrick Shy, to come and speak on the show. We all know about Patrick Shy was one of those very few men that had come out, and half of his life had shared about how earlier on in his life, earlier on in his marriage, he was very abusive to his wife. For years and years and years, he was very abusive to his wife. He was a rehabilitated man in terms of him being violent in his marriage. So I guess they felt like it was relevant for them to bring his wife, sort of to give the side of a victim, which even that made it even it didn't make sense that Ntando was not there, because Ntando needed to sit next to Patrick Shy's wife, you know. I feel like those are the people that Ntando should be having conversations with in terms of her understanding that she is in an abusive situation. So it didn't even make sense that Thando was not there, but they were bringing people that could possibly help Ntando understand the situation that she's in and understand the options that she has in terms of maybe possibly saving herself or and getting out of that relationship. But she was not there. Okay, they still didn't explain why she wasn't there. Okay, I guess because it was about saving Siyacela and saving Siyacela's image. Okay, and Mrs. Shy just spoke about the fact that a relationship is a partnership. You know, it's an equal partnership. You can't have a situation where one partner wants to control the other, because, you know, obviously a partner is not a car. You can't be driving her around and saying you go this way, go that way. It's partnership. So obviously you have to be in a situation where you are able to listen to each other, and even if you don't like something that your partner did, but you can't now be violent towards that. She made some good points, but obviously they didn't give her long to speak, and I feel like that was the relevant guest. She was just relevant for Thando to hear her out, but Thando was not there. Okay, and then Ulinda speaks about Lento Guti. Okay, there are situations where people would say Eyababili ayingenwa, which is what Velu Thando herself has said, which is what Siyacela himself has said. Okay, listen, until they are dead, and we have to go to the funeral, and we are crying about them having died. Okay, so sometimes yes, but sometimes because at the end of the day, nobody wants anybody to die. So when you feel like a person is in a situation where they are being abused, sometimes you have to say, are you even aware that you are in an abusive situation? Because sometimes you feel like maybe they don't even know that they are in an abusive situation. And I feel like this is one of those cases where Ntando, sometimes it feels like, does she know that she's in an abusive situation? Yes, but can I be the third person to just ask her, do you even know that this is not an acceptable thing? And we do find out in the situation that her thoughts on that, her thoughts on what an abusive situation is very interesting and scary as well. Okay, and then there was another woman that was with Patrick Shy's wife, who is, I think, what did they say her name was? But that woman was like, listen, was it a social worker? I'm confusing that. I'm confusing the guests. But I think it was a social who said, okay, fine, again. But one thing you have to understand is that hitting somebody is a crime. Okay, and you should be locked away if you do something like that, and especially if you are somebody that is not willing to change, you should be locked away. Okay. Listen, the whole time that this is conversation is taking place, usiyacela uqumbile nje uyababuka nje ukuthi yazi I don't even know ukuthi nizoqeda nini le conversation enikhuluma la, because it didn't seem like he was very interested in what was happening. But I guess there is a talk that they had with him, because he never walked away. And there isn't a question that he was asked that he didn't answer, and we all know ukuthi usiyacela unjani. So for some reason they found a way to convince him like that, you know what, you need to sit here through this 30 minutes, and it wasn't, and likely it wasn't 30 minutes, because obviously maybe it was longer and they edited it. So for some reason they were able to keep him on that chair, and he was able to answer every single question. Okay. Then I think probably the interview was going almost the way they were like, okay, it wasn't perfect, it wasn't really the way that we wanted it to be, but maybe, maybe it worked. And not but they don't know who they were dealing with, because they were dealing with Siyacela, and Siyacela made sure that he waited until the end to just mess the whole thing up that they were trying to do. Okay, because after this woman speaks about the fact that it's illegal, you are committing a crime when you abuse a woman like that, and also you should be locked away. And then he says, listen, I do not abuse Ntando. Ngiyamshaya nje kuphela. I just hit her. I do not abuse Ntando. Just when I felt like maybe he understands now after everybody speaks, because all of the guests spoke, and he seemed to like, he would say yes, but after the women speak about going to jail and all of that, he was like, Mina, I don't abuse Ntando. So basically at the end, this was right at the end, you guys. So basically after all of that talk, he still doesn't understand that hitting Ntando is abuse. He still doesn't understand that breaking her phone is abuse, or taking her phone away is abuse. He still doesn't understand it, because he says that he does not abuse Ntando, he just hits her. So the whole intervention basically didn't work. Okay, it was a waste of time even to have the interview, which is why I think that Thando should have been sitting there, or they shouldn't have had Siyacela. Maybe the person that we have hopes of understanding the situation that they are in right now is Ntando. Maybe if they had Ntando sitting there and all of these people were coming to talk about the situation, she would walk out of there understanding her situation better, but she wasn't there. And so Usiyacela sat there, listened, answer question. At the end, she was like, I'm not an abuser. I do not abuse Ntando. Okay. And he was asked if he knows abuse, and he was like, yeah. I guess he's very confident, you guys, because he knows Ntando is never really going to report him like that to the police. So at the end of the day, he is not worried about it, because he knows Thando is not gonna do it. She might threaten to do it. People might be asking her to do it, but she won't do it. And that was it, you guys. That was the interview. Of course, we understand what the purpose of the interview was. It wasn't because they care about these kids. It was because they are trying to convince people that they care about this issue that clearly they have shown that they don't care about. Love really gives me headaches because I think honestly it is a good channel, and I think the idea of the channel is really good, because it's a channel that tells South African stories in a South African way. But I just feel like I have an issue with the way that they tell these stories, and they tell them in a way that doesn't show that they care about the people. That's what I don't like it. So it's like, can we have a channel like this that really goes into our communities and tell our communities the stories of our communities, and still protect our communities, and still care about the rights of the people in our communities, and still try and protect the girls, protect the kids, protect the boys, protect the people that need to be protected, but still we can still have a Moja Love that just respects people a little bit more, like especially black people a little bit more. So that's why I struggle with it, because the ideas of the shows they do are really good, but the way that they handle people that are giving them these shows is really not good. It really just ends up feeling like they really just don't care about the people that they have on these shows. Anyway, you guys, that was the interview. Of course, later on I will do the full review of the episode 4, and it had interesting things too, and we will talk about it in the next video. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please like it before Pumegona, share it with your friends, with your family, and even with strangers. Ntando kakhulu.